you can't go home again. I want to go home. Like, have you heard from home? You know, are you going home for Christmas? This is an incredibly loaded word and a very difficult thing to attain. I myself have only rarely been able to provide myself with a home, but I have always been able to provide myself with a house. Now, first of all, I have to also preface it by saying there was no such thing, you never heard the word, until the Reagan administration. Before that, there were bums. Okay, there were not that many, by the way, but when Reagan became the president, one of the things he did was they emptied out all the mental hospitals. You know, the majority of people, it seemed to me, who are in the street are mentally ill. Not all, but many. So no one connects, and people started using the word homeless at just about the same time that people started using the word home for house. This is something that, you know, when I was younger was considered very vulgar. To call, you know, this is a house, not a home. But now you see all the time, you know, homes for sale, you know, town home, you know. And that was considered just a vulgar thing, a vulgar way of saying house. A house is a thing, you know. If they called it houselessness, hey, we can provide this. We can provide housing for people. I mean, I think any New Yorker who walks down the street in this rich city, this city that is, you can't even hear anything because the money's making so much noise now, and see people in the street and not feel this is a disgrace to the country. It's a disgrace to the city. All these buildings they're building, like these buildings at 57th Street, they're empty. You know, that all these Russians, these people are buying, they buy them, no one lives in them. Sometimes I walk down the street, I see people sleeping in front of these places, and I feel like saying, if I was the mayor, I would go up and I would say, you know what, fellas? There's an empty apartment here. There's 50 empty apartments here. Go on in. And not only that, you're going to have a view. The entire Middle East is in total chaos. You know, it's not that the Middle East without the United States was ever a pacific, serene place. It never was. It never will be. When people run out of their country, you know, with their children on their back, you know, carrying a suitcase, obviously there's something wrong in the country. This is like not even an immigration crisis. If the whole country wants to leave the country, I would suggest that the problem is in the country, not out of the country. If I was in charge of the country, I would say the whole middle of the country is empty. Come here. I understand certain of the European countries not wanting all these immigrants, not all of them, but say Italy. Italy has a culture. They want to protect their culture. I understand that. All of Western culture is in Western Europe. We don't have a culture. Come here. We never had a culture. You can't ruin it. It's impossible. We have an idea, and that idea is immigrants. The United States is an idea. It's not a culture. It's a fantastic idea. Come here. We did. Not me, but I'm glad my grandparents did. Last year, and they brag about this, 58 million tourists came to New York City. 58 million tourists. Ask any of the minute number of New Yorkers, only 8 million, if they wanted those 58 million people here. And unless you own a hotel chain, that answer is no. So I would stand at the border of New York and I would say, you can come here, but you have to live here. No tourists. You're not coming here for 3 days. You want to come in? Fine. That's your luggage for the rest of your life? No, I don't believe you. You can't come. And then all the hotels would be apartments. They always say they provide jobs. The jobs provided by tourism are horrible. Hotel maid jobs, you know, fast food restaurant jobs. These are the worst jobs there are. You know, I mean, the number one industry in New York used to be the garment industry. You know, those were much better jobs. There were unions, first of all, which no one seems to remember. Most of those jobs were skilled to a certain extent, and you moved up in those jobs. No one starts out making beds in a hotel and ends up the president of the hotel chain. No one in the history of the world, I promise you. You know, there's not room to advance in those jobs. And they're horrible jobs. And they exploit the people. And they employ many people who are not legally here. You know, if you had the Fran Lebowitz immigration policy, everyone would be legally here, but not tourists. They would not be legally here. They would be illegally here, and I would prosecute them.